best is yet to come. And today's topic is a bit of a mixture. It's changed about 10 times, as we know, but I've boiled it down to signs and symbols. And faith. Good, someone's paying attention. Why I did that is because I've seen photos of rainbows, and to me they just evoke something special. Genesis 9 verse 13, I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. I've seen rainbows over many, many places at special occasions, and I think one of them, Leslie, was when you left your old house. Remember that beautiful rainbow that came over the house? And I've had it here, we've had one here, and we've had it a few other places, especially in the country, and down by the sea when I used to live there. I'm sure everyone here has a rainbow experience. And to me, signs and symbols are important because it means they can bring us into focus and give us a gentle reminder on the way of maybe what we're doing here. How do we do it? And just to keep us going, because sometimes we know that it's not easy to get into a state of meditation and contemplation sometimes with the state of the world, and all of a sudden life seems to be complicated. There is always something to do, and we're usually too tired at the end of the day or in the morning to do anything about it. Religious symbols have been used throughout the year. And as you can see, we've got our tree here, which was a symbol of Christmas. And we had the candles for the candle lighting ceremony, and we had our burning bowl ceremony. All wonderful reminders to help us focus on that power within. And soon it will be the Lenten season. And some churches will be using symbology based on the communion service, which uses bread and wine, which have their own physical meaning, but we'll wait until then to do that. And also the cup. And I believe, Leslie, there is a communion service that Unity have had theirs at one time. We might just look that up for Easter and see. Talking about the sea, which we all love, I had a day by it on Thursday. I had too much to do. I hadn't got this talk ready, and I thought, you've got to stay home and work on the talk, but it didn't happen. So I got in my car, drove down the Midlands Highway, and a friend picked me up and took me right round the Bellarine Peninsula. I don't know if you know that area, Portarlington, and right round, then back again. That was another world. There's the sea. And from Portarlington, you can look out and see Melbourne there in the distance. And over there are the You Yangs. And you can just see the wings of the Avalon Airport as well. And to me, having been a fan of Portarlington, it's been 20 years since I used to go there. I used to go to a place, and this chap, the Reverend Fred Adams, who had a little group there, and he had a pyramid. And he had a pyramid on top of his centre, and it was quite a unique experience. He used to go up every Tuesday and come back on the Wednesday and meditate by the sea and underneath this wonderful, wonderful pyramid. Lots of energy. And Fred was a wonderful magnetic healer. He actually cured this eye here, which was weeping a lot since childhood, and he actually made it so that it is as it is now. Mind you, it wasn't a pleasant experience. He put his finger in the eye, but I didn't feel it. But then I found out I couldn't see through it for 2 hours, so I went crook at him. He said, no, have faith. And sure enough, by the 3rd hour, everything was fine. I haven't been weeping from that eye ever since. So Fred's gone now. He was 80 at the time, and the pyramid's still there. So I took great joy in going around and seeing it. But isn't it funny when you go back to a place, it looks small. Everything looks so tiny. The pyramid looked small, and it's drowned out by these terrible houses on either side. But I thought, no, I just think of the good times I had there. and the wonderful spiritual upliftment I received from it, which prepared me for my later journey in life. To give this a nautical feel today, an anchor is another symbol. And our faith is the anchor. But it can take willpower to keep keeping on, especially in these times. And, you know, I can talk about old hymn books I want to give away. There's a couple I can't. One I used to pump out on the organ was from number 879. Leslie would probably know it. We have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure when the billows roll. Fastened to the rock that cannot move, founded firm and deep in the Saviour's love. Some people might get upset if I say the Saviour, but we are a metaphysical group. We know the meaning behind these words. Saviour metaphysically means our Christ nature, Buddha nature, infinite intelligence, infinite blueprint, pearl of great price, and you could probably recite about 10 others. Now, a reminder that this is the month of January. And so you won't forget the 12 powers. Jeanette is going to put one of these up in the foyer for us. This is faith, the ability to believe, intuit, and persevere. And our faith blesses my day and paves my way. So we're going to put that up. And thank you, Jeanette, for this. And it's going to be in the foyer to remind us of the month of faith, because we've still got two more weeks to go. Faith is represented by the disciple Peter. The colour is blue, and the location in the body is in the third eye or the pineal gland. First came to hear about that third eye in a book, I think I was in my last year of high school, a book by Lobsang Rampa. Does anyone remember him? Oh, yes. Yeah. And he had a book called The Third Eye. And in it was all these little things we could do, symbols to look at and meditate on, and also how to read auras. Well, a group of us decided that we're going to give it a go, so we did. And I couldn't see it. I'm more of a feeling person. But my friend Hannah eventually tuned in, and she reckoned she could see sort of not a colour, but just a vibration around the person. She's not here anymore. But that was my first introduction, and which really got me in trouble at Sunday school, really. I didn't sort of take it the same way after that. But that book has been responsible for a lot of people moving on in life. I think it was just before the Beatles and the Maharishi, and it all came together at a very, very exciting time in history. So how strong is our faith? Is it intellectual faith? Has it been tested? Or is it spiritual faith? Unfailing assurance. I can't help myself. There's another hymn, number 873, called Blessed Assurance, which puts it well. Does anyone know that song? Oh, yes. It's actually in our Wings of Song hymn book, but the words are a little bit different. But they're more appropriate for where we are at the moment, I think. Now, assurance. How assured are we, really? The greats, like John Wesley, for example, he was in 1703 and died in March 1791, the 2nd of March, and he was an English cleric and an evangelist, and he was the leader of a revival movement within the Church of England known as Methodism. And this caused a few waves. And the way Methodism started was that most of the servants couldn't go to the church because they had to serve their masters and do things in the palaces and all those sort of places. So Wesley went to them. He went to the ovals and the town squares, and he raised a few eyebrows with the clergy at the time, as you can imagine. And things are still happening today, which are amazing what people are arguing about. He really only found his blessed assurance through events at a sea trip, which occurred in the English colony as he was on the way to preach at the English colonies, because they were English then. During this time, a ferocious storm came, breaking over the decks and splitting the mainsail to pieces. Wesley was afraid, but more so, he was disturbed about being afraid. I've been in that position many times. I think one of the worst, and some of you may know if you've experienced air turbulence. It's quite a helpless feeling when you're up there when the plane's going crazy. And that happened on the way to Hawaii. We were just cruising along, and all of a sudden, boom, captain came on and said, "It's all right, we're right," boom again. And I thought, oh, I don't know about this guy, but it was quite a scary time, with screams and everything else. And I checked with my friend Anthony, who some of you know here. He was a steward on Qantas for many years. I said, "How did you cope with it?" He said, "We just didn't worry, we just kept going, we did our job." I said, "Really? My goodness." And the way the planes are today, I think we need faith to get on, even to go to an airport. But anyway, Anthony had that faith and it kept him going all those years. And he told me, he reckons that was a pussycat experience. So I'm sure I'll hear more about that when he comes back. I think he's in Sydney at the moment. But anyway, everyone was terrified, except a small group of people called, funny enough, Unity of the Brethren, also known as the Moravians. They believed in living lives of simplicity, happiness, unobtrusiveness, fellowship, and service. They believed in living lives of simplicity and happiness, as I said. Now, after the storms subsided, Wesley went up to their leader and said, "Weren't you afraid?" And the leader said, "No." Then he said to Wesley, "Were you afraid?" And Wesley, wanting to save face, said, "I do have faith." But he felt the words were empty. They hadn't stood the test when the going got tough. The Moravians demonstrated to him the power of spiritual faith anchored in power. I once gave a talk called "Will Your Anchor Hold?" I used the symbology of the sea, the ship, and the anchor. The sea, which is water, represents our emotions. We read of Jesus walking over the water and calling out with great feeling and voice, "Peace, be still." If we have faith, we can restore calm to our troubled emotions. It's not easy, is it? We virtually have to yell at ourselves. I sometimes treat these weird emotions as if they're another person and try and speak to it in that way. But sometimes it's not easy. This is where symbols come in to help us. Now the ship, that's us. When a ship is built, if it is built properly, it will sail safely. It may look good in the harbour, but it's not meant to sit in the harbour. It's meant to get out there and do its job, riding the sea in all conditions. But there again, it can't remain on the sea for too long without arriving back into the harbour for maintenance, so it can remain seaworthy. It needs to drop anchor on something secure, remaining stationary while awaiting repairs. Excuse me. Aren't we like that? We need to have repairs occasionally. We have to sit down and take grasp of our situation and just let go and commune and get back into that feeling that we are spiritual beings and have faith in that as we move on through life. Apart from our physical condition, we need spiritual nourishment, a retreat into meditation and silence and attunement with our higher self. And we listen to that inner voice as it guides us on this sea of life. The anchor is as strong as our faith. And the anchorage is the solid resting place in the everlasting one presence and one power in us, waiting for recognition. What it does for recognition is amazing. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me down to lie, whether we like it or not sometimes. We are made to stop. In the Hawaiian tradition, I've mentioned this before, some of us here, and I know there's one or two on the Zoom there, have been interested in the Hawaiian tradition of the kahunas. They were there years before the Christian missionaries arrived. They had different names for different things, and their higher self they called the Amakura, totally trustworthy parental spirit. What a melting phrase. If only we had trusting, totally trustworthy parental spirits, but we have one. And we are at a time when it is vital to keep this anchor of faith going. It's important for us to keep it afloat. We all have different ways of doing this. And regardless of the symbolism used in the many religions, creeds, and customs of the world, we are all individuals on a mission to express more and more and more an expanded view of spirit. So patience and endurance and unconditional harmony are required if we are to live in harmony. Because we know we're born perfect, but it takes time for us to experience more of that perfection as we grow. From the writings of Melinda E. Kramer, any seed contains the form and potentialities of the complete plant before it grows. So knowledge is the essence of our nature before the development in knowledge is started. So the process of revelation of truths new to us comes from within rather than from without. It's all inside us, as that song we sing here from time to time. Like everyone else, we sometimes find it hard to take regular time to go within. And this is where the use of symbols, candles, music, mandalas, spiritual statues can be of assistance until we arrive at that place of established consciousness where nothing can knock us off our perch, so to speak. And we all have certain symbols. I've got the sea, and I'm not going to ask you what yours is because I think it's important to keep it, keep that power of that symbol. I know that there's a few basic ones like palm trees, which I love. And also, I like certain candles, music, and I like that little angel which is up on the wall there. Quite unobtrusively, watching everything that's going on, seeing if you're being naughty or nice. But there it is, that's been there for quite a few years now. So, by regular denials, affirmations with feeling, meditation, contemplation, the power of the silence, we build a deep, abiding faith, which becomes our anchor in our inner Christ. And finally, as that ship takes anchor on its journey into the rough and smooth seas, so too can we take our anchor with us, knowing it is strong enough to hold us in any storm in the sea of life day. So happy sailing and bon voyage.